Well, hello, Pegasus Actual fans. Sorry we are a little bit fashionably late this evening, but come on, what do you expect out of us? Are we really ever on time?
It was my fault. I'm sorry.
But,
I can share a little blame in that.
we were all having an episode of the pre-Friday blahs, so I think that's what it boils down to. But it's good to see everybody out there in the chat. I see Lady Mist already. I see Mando Merc. I see PJ Orville Nation. I see Adega, and
Hail the Atlantean.
I see Parrot Head.
Yeah, Drew, let me tell you, Parrot Head, I've been in like 4 different chats with him since last week's show, and he's hashtagging Beware the Drew everywhere.
I know. He is. He is.
He is such a great person. It's just ridiculous. So smart, so funny, huge fan, and he's promoting the show. Shout out to Parrot Head, Adega, Orville Nation. Yeah, Lady Mist. It's so nice to see you. Just everyone in the chat. Welcome and thank you so much for being here.
I see Mark Krell's in here. All right, there we go. So we got a lot of people in here. We have a special guest tonight. We have Kat King. You know, you guys may remember her from her chat with Orville Nation with Pete. Kat
Nice.
is an executive producer in the industry. She's working on a really cool independent project called Project Abaddon, and we will get to that here shortly, and we're gonna kind of let her explain what that is. But tonight we are primarily going to be breaking down the BSG episode, season 2, episode 3, Fragged, and it's going to be really fun. And Kat, did you have a ball getting ready for the stream?
I did. I love Battlestar Galactica. So when I first found out about you guys and found out that you do this great rewatch podcast, I just had to hop in.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what this place is for.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm in the right place. Yes.
You are.
Yeah, because, at the end of the day, we it's funny when we break this down, we talk about it from a perspective of writers, but we're also fans, and we're also super hardcore BSG fans. And, it's just so much fun, I guess, doing it together and doing this rewatch, because anytime you do a rewatch of BSG, it's great.
And we also have the unicorn with us, Bear, who has been around. It's like a unicorn on the beat. If you come over the Pegasus Actual Podcast and find Bear, you have found a unicorn.
Yes.
All right. It's funny you should mention unicorn. I used to be part of this little group that we used to meet once a week. And this guy really didn't want to be there, and he always made it known. And every time it came time for him to talk, he would talk about finding unicorns. And he was serious. He acted like it was for real, and he was really for real. And all of us were just like cracking up. Yeah.
That's great.
And of course, we have the great George Peter Gatsis on the panel tonight, and he's stepping in and going to bat for PJ and for Script Doctor, and it's awesome that he graced us with his presence tonight, because I know George is a busy man, and he's a good friend, and I'm glad that he's here.
I'm here to represent. Boy.
Nice, bro. Nice. All right.
I'm really excited about tonight's show because, Kat King is an executive producer, but she's also working on an incredible project of her own that will make Star Trek fans just go bazongas. In those Looney Tunes cartoons where your eyes come out, your tongue comes out, and you're like, I can't believe this is happening. Kat is actually working on a project just like that, of that caliber. So if everybody doesn't mind, I'd like to just hand the floor over to Kat King to talk about Project Abaddon, what it's about, and what she hopes for it, and just anything that's on her mind. Kat, go ahead and take the floor and tell all of these eager fans about this fabulous project you're working on.
Yeah, please do.
Eager fans.
Thank you. It's very kind. Thank you. Yes, I am. I just came onto this project middle of last year, but I've known about it and been in the circle for a while with the fellows who started this project about 20 years ago. So what is Project Abaddon about? The project itself is a reference to classified documentation that goes back, and that's actually inspired by our actual history about UFOs and aliens and stuff. So it's kind of what the title itself, and then the full title is Project Abaddon: Rise of the Destroyer. So it has a sort of an ominous title at the outset, but it's really just a story of a young man. It's set 300 years in the future. It's a sci-fi film. It's we've compared it to Indiana Jones in space. So as far as its tone and sort of the feel of it, it starts out to be feels very dystopian, feels very apocalyptic, because it's about a young man who finds out that there's this mysterious ship. His father was involved with a secret mission, and the ship is the key to everything. And I won't give any more of the plot away because it would just spoil the whole story, but it has a terrific twist in it. It's primarily asking questions about who are we as humanity. It asks many of the same questions that Battlestar Galactica's show asks.
Beautiful.
And yes, it does. It asks about who we are, what we believe. It does address religion and the beliefs that we have, which is where Abaddon even originates. If people are listening are believers in the Bible or have any exposure to Christian theology, then they'll know that Abaddon is a reference to the angel of death in the book of Revelations in the Bible, which is ominous to most Christians sounding because it sort of harbinges, the end of the world. And that sounds like a really dark and, ominous story. But it's really about hope. Actually, it's about the end being really, people being very scared of the end and not even knowing it's coming. But it's really about how the end is really a new beginning, and actually a physical new beginning. And it also involves the simulacrum, which, if you're familiar with Foucault at all, philosophy, then you've heard of the simulacrum. And there's just a theory about our existence being basically virtual or not really being real. And reality. So the story really asks us what is real, what do we consider to be reality. So I like to cross it over like Pete Boragini, who wrote and created it originally, then brought me into the script. So I'm actually co-writing on the script. Now the script is complete. We had shot of a trailer, and a few years back I was not involved in the production of the trailer, but it is fantastic, and is available for anyone to go and see. On Project Abaddon's website, on projectabaddon.com. And we would
Kat, can I interrupt you for just 1 second, please? Could I please ask someone who is in charge or who can cue that up? Because we have Kat King here. It would be great if we could please roll that wonderful trailer. Sorry to interrupt you, Kat, but I would like to plug your project to the fullest extent that we are able to do that.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. Please excuse me. You may just go ahead and continue.
All good, no worries. So yeah, there was a trailer shot a few years back. We actually were very fortunate and blessed that we were, as unsigned, unrepresented writers, that we were provided the opportunity to connect with some fabulous people who fell in love with the script. And in so doing, we forged some fantastic partnerships with some major studios. And the project is now under consideration by Warner Brothers and a few other major production studios, and that was fantastic news for us. But when we say we're independent, that means that we have not crowdfunded anything. We haven't actually raised any money for the project so far. But because what happened was we got this call from Warner Brothers saying, "Hey, we'd love to chat with you about the script and meet."
Nice.
So we have several fantastic actors attached to this project, as well as directors and visual effects people from Star Trek, including Dan Curry, who is slated to direct. And if you don't know his name, I will remind everyone that he won 7 Emmys for his work in Star Trek as a visual effects supervisor. And in his own right, is a fantastic storyteller. And so this is an opportunity for him to direct something that he can really put a nice cherry on his big, wonderful, fabulous career. And that's what we're doing. So then we also have Garrett Wong, who we know as Harry Kim from Star Trek Voyager.
Nice.
In the main protagonist role, the young AI engineer who ends up kind of getting involved with a bunch of people who end up trying to save the galaxy, only to find out that it's just not quite what they thought it was about in the end at all. And it's a fantastic story. And there is a trailer. There are a few different versions of the trailer available. Now, the one you're going to watch, it features Lawrence Chow as Ken Chang. Ken Chang is the main protagonist of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But it very much is an ensemble piece. So think Matrix means Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, think about the tone, that energy, that sort of back and forth, and they don't really get along with each other. But then in the end, they really find that they need each other and they grow from each other. And they are facing the same mortality together in a sense. And so this is their story. Now, Lawrence Chow is in the trailer playing Ken Chang. But since the trailer was shot about 4 years ago, it has been a while, we've changed the script. Scripts have undergone revision about maybe at least 100 times since the trailer was shot.
Right.
So, of course, and this is very common. That's very common. So,
okay, so we ready to take a look at the trailer?
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Before we go to that, when Kat was on Orville Nation, she said something that like floored all of the fans about how there are so many people involved with Star Trek on this, that people might actually read this as a fan production. But this is actually just all of the prodigiously talented, gifted, amazing people who worked on Star Trek. So as you are watching this, I want you to realize what this wonderful woman and her team have put together. This isn't homage. This is the real McCoy. These are the people who created all of the wonderful things that we so enjoy. And with that, yes, I'll give way to Drew. I just wanted everyone to know that. Kat had an extensive interview with us, and she was just fabulous. So away we go.
All right, let's do it.
Can we enlarge it there, buddy?
I'm going to do the best I can here.
That's all we ask, Drew.
Okay. There we go. And we're going to play. Here we go.
Bring down Orville's chat too, brother, please.
Admiral Carlton Dashira command log reporting BA Abaddon completely destroyed. List Captain Hirosaki Chang and his entire crew missing, presumed dead. Dashira out.
What happened 50 years ago? What's so vitally important on that ship that it's worth dying for?
There's only one way for us to find out. Come with us.
Who are you?
We're here to save you. Don't go.
What?
Junkawa, a rescue.
I believe what the captain was trying to say. You know what I just said? Never mind.
You will enter the evacuation system and retrieve the package. Return it here to me.
How big is the package?
It is a starship. Starship Abaddon.
How much longer? We need to jump now.
Jump event appearing, sir.
They're preparing to fire.
Roz?
Shields won't sustain impact.
We need at least 30 more seconds so the computers can calculate the jump.
Okay, I really wish you left me back at that prison.
Amelia, what's the status of our engines?
She's holding it together. Integrity's 80%. If we gotta jump, we gotta jump now.
This is gonna be close.
Gotta go.
It's now or never. Kai, jump now. Jump!
Who sent you? And why are you trying to kill the captain?
This is so much bigger than you know. Others are coming. We will not be stopped.
Why are you doing this?
We will have the Abaddon. The choice is simple. Comply or die.
What is it you're really after?
Something you yourself have been seeking for a very long time.
And that is?
Phantom ship. If the Abaddon truly exists, then she holds a secret that could turn the balance of power throughout the entire galaxy.
My father was on that ship.
There's something else you need to know, sir. The Abaddon is alive and was never destroyed.
And now you, Chang, need to disappear. You need to die.
For years, it's been a myth that the starship Abaddon was destroyed. That ends now. What I'm asking is not an order.
It's a suicide mission.
Who's with me?
I stand with you, sir. knowing all the risks and the dangers.
You'll need a top-notch engineer.
And a brilliant linguist. I'm not going anywhere. Sir? Neither am I.
I'm with you. Thank you. Anyone else? Roz, I need you.
I don't believe in your ghost ship, but I believe in you. You're the only family I got, and this ship is my home. Frankly, I'm the best pilot you got.
Nice.
All those with me say aye. There's no turning back. We must go against everything we believe in and fight for everything we hold true. Beyond duty, beyond courage, lies the truth. A new journey begins.
Yes.
All right.
Wow.
So
That
before
is
we
nice.
go anywhere else, let's just stay here for a second and leave the visual queued up. Kat, I was wondering if you could tell everyone about the lineup change, about Garrett's part in this, please.
Yes, so because of some changes to the story, we decided that we would actually recast Lawrence as the father figure, the father character anyway, because it matches more closely his age and just being real. And also Garrett found out about Abaddon and was like, this would be, I'm totally down to do this. And he fit the age profile a little bit more closely. So we're like, okay, let's just do this. Let's honor Lawrence. Let's keep Lawrence on board and then just give him the father role. And I think that the two of them will do tremendous work together.
So Garrett will be the captain for the person who has been an ensign his entire life is finally going to be a captain, just so that everyone understands.
Hell yeah.
He gets to helm the ship and be basically the leader and lead everyone to this next chapter in human history. So it's fantastic.
I have to say that trailer also reminded me of another one of my favorite shows, Babylon 5.
Yes.
The uniform came out to me.
You know, we have several people who consult on the project. Worked on both Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica,
Nice,
and various Star Trek shows, not just Voyager and DS9, like TNG and before that too. So there's just a nice myriad of people on this project that we're just so thrilled to have. And when I came on last year, it was middle of last year, early spring, or late spring rather, I should say. And when I found out that the project was there was nothing happening, I didn't see any crowdfunding, I didn't see anything happening. I was like, let me see what I can do. And the next thing we knew, we just had this fantastic opportunity. So hopefully the pandemic will pass eventually soon and we'll be able to get back to work because we're not going to put anybody at risk. We're not going to start production on anything until we have clearance to do so. That's the priority.
Well, I can't wait to see this. You've got to keep us updated on.
We'll do.
Now, my question is for you, Kat. Now, right now, you're kind of in a holding pattern with Warner Brothers. Okay, so do you guys have a contingency for some reason? Like, if they decide to go in a different direction, are you going to go to crowdfunding then, or?
We'll make that decision at that time, but we have a few contingency plans, and one of them is to go ahead and pursue we have some attachment to some like angel investors and private investors, perhaps. So we may not even need to crowdfund. So we might actually just form a partnership and establish a formal LLC and actually start our own production company from the ground up and go from there. Because we have a team that believes in the work that we're doing and the storytelling that we're about and the conscious, mindful content that we want to produce. And we have some people who really believe in us,
and a legendary team. This isn't a
really good team.
This isn't their first trip to the rodeo. This is a legendary team.
Exactly, their credibility adds credibility to us. As I'm very grateful to have that. Dan has just been such a great. I just absolutely adore him. He's fantastic.
We did have a question from the chat. Is so the ancient alien artifact is a ship? They're asking.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Bold Boar, it is the ship is the Project Abaddon. Yes, it's the artifact.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I think it looks good, Kat. I do. I think it has a hell of a lot of potential. So
what are they saying in the chat there, man? I saw a lot of good reactions to that trailer.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's still getting that that good positive feedback, because I look at it and I go, I know we've changed the script, so some of the elements of it are a little bit different, but the core story is basically there. And like I said, we added this idea about a simulacrum is still relatively new to the script. It was added because I felt there needed to be some sort of. It felt very ominous when I read it initially. I didn't see where it was going, and then we discussed it. We discussed it at length, and we agreed we need something else in here and to really ground it. So we did. We came up with this idea. So there it is. And if I say any more, I'll just spoil it. So.
Yeah, we don't want to drop any spoilers.
This is good, right?
Yeah, we do a pretty good job of not dropping spoilers here, so I want to keep this super alive
every week.
Yeah, I know it's so hard. We watch Battlestar, and every week, Kat, it's like, oh god, it's so hard to jump ahead because we know what's going to happen, and we're like, oh, you know.
It's like watching Deep Space Nine, and like Kai wins, just where it's going, but like it's painful.
I know, right? Because you're doing it every week in sequential order, so you're like, yeah, we just got to take it at the slow pace. Don't jump ahead.
I know. I'm like, I want to see that lady get some just desserts. Can I get there any faster? Is it time yet for the next episode? I know. It forces us back into when we were kids and we had to wait. We had to wait.
Exactly. Exactly, but it's like the gift that keeps on giving when you watch Battlestar, because it's just such a pleasure to watch. But as far as your project, Kat, we wish you the absolutely the best of success. And guys, I believe Bear linked it in the chat. You go to projectabaddon.com and you can keep up with all the details there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was lovely.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
We got the hookup, girl. We got you.
Kat, would you please tell us about your other projects? I mean, you are a talented executive producer with a big resume. So beyond Project Abaddon, would you please tell the chat and all the fans the other stuff that you're working on?
Yes, I'm putting together a sci-fi horror anthology. It's meant to be a mobile series that we are marketing it primarily through TikTok, but we will be actually distributing it and airing it through YouTube once it's complete. It's not quite there yet. And it's a very small project. We usually have about 2 to 4 people in a scene at any time because it's supposed to be a fairly isolating. If you've ever seen Twin Peaks or Twilight Zone or Black Mirror, you're going to get that vibe, but it's all centered on a place out off the 15 freeway in California on the way to Vegas called Zizix. And it's called Zizix. And something strange happens to people every time they go to this place. And you'll find out more.
Okay. Really?
So is this going to be a series or a motion picture?
This will be a series. This is going to be a web series. Yeah, new media.
Awesome.
So could we put up, the controllers of the chat, because I can't actually post to the chat, could we please post the contacts for Kat King as far as her Instagram and her Twitter, as well as that Project Abaddon? What's really great is that she's using a multi-platform outreach. So this way, everyone can engage with the material in whatever way she would like to showcase it. So let's get the fans connected to that, please.
Yeah, PJ, if you could you drop her Twitter?
Yes, if the chat overlords.
PJ, you're the sweetest. Shout out to Orville Nation, PJ, the Johnny Carson of fan streamers. Just love you, and thank you so much for your assistance. You're the greatest.
PJ, thanks for modding, PJ. All right. So yeah, we'll get those socials out there, and we will get into some Battlestar Galactica now.
Do it.
All right.
So yeah, this episode, Fragged, I thought this was really good. You can start to see the pressure mounting on Ty a little bit, and I really thought that the interplay between the people that were stranded on Kobol was like pretty amazing this episode.
Okay.
And you know, we talk about Baltar's character development. My God, there was like such a big moment with Baltar, and we'll get to that. But overall, I thought this episode was really good. So Raquel, you want to go ahead and lead us in, darling?
Sure, no problem. So after the title sequence and the recap, Chief, Celix, Callie are standing at the graves of the fallen while Crashdown stumbles through a prayer, a eulogy. The camera pans to the blank stare on Gaius's face. Six is there, telling him that no heaven awaits, despite the prayer, only oblivion. Gaius retorts, because of non-belief, but Six tells him it's because they died on Kobol, as though Kobol itself is cursed. Chief rouses him that they are loading out. They exchange over the genteelness of addressing Gaius as Doc and not Doctor or Mr. Vice President. Chief isn't having any of this affectation and mocks him by reprimanding him that he's schlepping crap around the jungle, what probably amounts to a scorched earth, not a curse. Chief has to rouse Crashdown in a daze. He's staring at the dog tags as they hang from a tree. Finally, Crashdown is contemplating the deaths of his colleagues. Chief 2 stops to acknowledge the realness of the loss and the importance of their lives, every life. They head out. They spot Cylons in the distance, dismantling parts to build a missile battery in a clearing. Chief explains to the team that decimating the whole valley is much easier for the Cylons than tracking or chasing them. End of scene.
Yeah, I thought that especially was really powerful when you bust into where they've got that eulogy going on like right away. It's like, whoa.
Baltar, I'm not a doc. I'm a doctor. I'm not something. What do you say? I'm not something on a loading dock. And
yeah, and yet he's loading.
You're loading, aren't you?
Yeah, you're still schlepping crap around the jungle. But the thing that struck me in this is Crashdown. It seemed as though Crashdown was willing to expend as many lives previously. He sort of makes snap decisions without thinking about the human element, the human cost. And now he's sort of had that reckoning, and it's happened in himself, not through any prompting of the chief. And yet, it doesn't seem to have compassionated him or woken him up emotionally. As a matter of fact, he just appears to have snapped his proverbial crayons.
Right. Well,
so we're wondering what's going on with Crashdown. He seems to have this total disconnect from either his emotions or the ability to value human life.
He absolutely has that disconnect because of all the stress that he's under. His military training has taken over. Yeah. He's thinking about everything from military view, and everything's by the numbers. And this is the only way that he can protect himself, his own mind, while he is under the stress of leading these people in a hostile situation.
What was your thoughts? Go ahead, chime in, Cal. What did you think?
I think you're right. I mean, on both, it's yes, absolutely. From a military perspective, yes, there are certain things that take over, and a prolonged exposure to trauma, especially in an environment where your life is still constantly in danger and there is no safety. There is a sense of, okay, this is all we can do. And it sort of smacked this episode. There's parts of it that sort of remind me of certain events that happened during Vietnam with American soldiers in Vietnam, and things that went on there where there were American soldiers fired on civilians, and there was a particular individual American soldier who arrived on the scene and witnessed the event happening and refused point blank to participate in the slaughter. Now I make that comparison because we're in a situation where we're talking about Crashdown and whether or not was he always disconnected from his humanity, or is the stress of but just a constant state of being in a PTSD? It's not it's constant stress.
Right.
Did he have a feeling, heart beating, empathy for people before this? Or has he always been a little bit off? And the thing is that you sort of get the sense that he was a little bit, I don't know. He was fine. And then this got to him. And now he's just sort of going by that survival instinct.
Right. Well, I mean, the stress that he's under as a person, right? Their homeworld was just destroyed. They're running from the Cylons, consistently encountering problems. They also he's been flying around with Sharon, hasn't he? And then she turns out to be a traitor, and now he's in a life or death situation. I think that a lot of the themes over the last season, over the entire show, really is just constant stress and how they react to these situations. I think that Crashdown just hit his breaking point, and now he is entirely relying on the conditioning that he received from the military in order to get through this situation. But unfortunately, that's not the entire element of being a commander. He's not thinking about the people under his command that it is his duty to protect. So that's how I see the character right now.
Well, from what I've seen, I've been watching him as they have been introducing his character, and I have been watching him struggle with command. He's friends with a lot of the people that he's given command over. And I think he's been having a hard time with command. And I also think that he lacks experience. And Chief has noticed his lack of experience. And he has been making regular suggestions to him. He's been trying to school him, and he's been being rebuffed.
Yeah, because Chief's like an NCO. So the guy's like, he's a pilot, he's an LT, so he's like, what's this NCO doing talking to me? But he doesn't realize, Chief's got like a ton of experience like up on him, and he's used to, that compartmentalization of being a soldier balanced with, knowing when to just be yourself.
Yeah, it's hard to do because we're talking about the way that you behave and conduct yourself or expect to behave in garrison when you're not in a combat situation. They've been in a combat constantly, and he's young.
Right.
So young, and you don't have that experience. You don't know how to process. You just don't know how to deal with it. But he already is, as you said, very eloquently mentioned that he rebuffs Chief at every opportunity that he gives to try to school him a little bit. And there's something to be said for that. Still a little bit of that pride and hubris. And it could be that he's young, or we'll never know. And we'll never know.
Let's get George's take. What do you think, George?
I'm more interested in the similarities between this episode and the second half of the premiere episode, where they have to go down to the planet to switch off a huge space gun, or else the Galactica and the fleet would be blown to bits as they fly by. I thought that was a very a great.
Are you thinking of the 78 episode?
Yeah, the 78 episode. This has a lot of similarities to that.
Oh, you're thinking of the gun on Ice Planet Zero. Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Remember that? Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
It surprised me when I first saw it, and it's something that struck me about it when I took a quick wiki read on it. I go like, oh yeah, I remember this, and it really impressed me is because throughout the entirety of Battlestar Galactica, they literally did an homage for almost every episode in the 78.
Yes.
But they didn't do it one after the other. They just sprinkled it here and there organically, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Agreed, George. And I spotted that as well. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, the missile battery. When they finally figure out that the missile battery is getting built, that's just. I'm surprised that anybody thought that it would be a good idea to assault a group of Cylons with that ragtag group of.
Let's
you got Baltar on your squad.
Let's go assault a fortified position with this group. We're ready to do it.
Yeah,
No, nobody lives forever.
all right. Raquel, should we move
What
forward?
what would they say? YOLO.
It's like a Rambo. I blame Rambo for teaching us that idea in movies that we just go in, bang bang, guns a blazing, and we don't, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, but nobody could kill Stallone though.
That's a good point.
You heard of suicide by cop? This is suicide by centurion.
Look, you could be 75 years old in Mexico getting beat up by a gang, and you're still surviving if you're Stallone.
Right?
Yeah.
Rambo was a killing machine.
Hey.
He was a Terminator.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead, Raquel. Take us to the next.
So then we cut to Doc Cottle. He finally makes it aboard Galactica. He's heavily smoking in that old country doctor way. He Star Trek McCoy style bitches his way to Adama. His staff debrief him. The old man is hemorrhaging and needs more surgery. At this point, we cut to the opening credits. Comments?
I love Doc Cottle. I love every time Doc Cottle smokes on screen. I'm sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
No, I love Cottle. And you also, we've got it where Ty is in the corridor and Billy finds him.
Oh yeah. Why aren't you in the brig? That's the first thing he says to him.
In there with Roslane.
Yeah.
Nobody put me in there.
Well, the reason why I identified this particular scene and stopped there is because not only is that where the opening credits begin, but I thought that we would have an interesting conversation on the fact that you can make these incredible physician characters. And they're sort of the anti-doctor. They're the doctor that everyone wants to have because instead of finger wagging at you, these doctors are just as bad. With McCoy, you've got this mint julep. Even in the pilot of Star Trek, we had a doctor who's mixing martinis instead of sending people to the psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have this Cottle, who is just this McCoy-style doctor. He's an old country doctor, but instead of his vice being mint juleps and too many women, well, we don't know about the too many women part, but I just love the fact that he's just hitting those cigarettes. And I absolutely love how not whenever, but a lot of times, the person who's filming this, the cameraman, is always zooming in on Doc Cottle's cigarette dangle. So it's always this atrociously long, unashen cigarette. And, he's the anti-doctor. So I thought that was just totally interesting. And I definitely saw the parallels between the McCoy and the original pilot doctor. And, of course, Cottle, the doctor you love to love. It's the doctor you go to and you're like, Doc, last weekend I smoked 3 cigarettes and I may have had 4 whiskeys. And he's like, whatever.
I love how form-fitting.
Well, yeah, that's a doctor you want to go to. It's not going to bullshit you. He's just like,
right.
He's the type to say, he just sits there and he's got a smoke and he's just like, well, I'm just going to tell you flat out, you're fucked.
Right. I hope when I'm Doc Cottle's age, I look that good in a uniform, I have to say.
Yes.
He was very form-fitting. He looks like a very fit doc for a smoker. And, I mean, that was a hot button issue back in the day, back during that time, as the government powers became larger and our liberties became smaller. That issues like that was a hot button issue, smoking at the time. So, it's very rebellious. I love seeing it every time. And I feel like Braveheart yelling freedom. As for me, but I love Doc Cottle. I love his disposition, his attitude. He's no nonsense. He's gonna tell you what it is, and he'll let you make the wrong decision if he doesn't agree with the decision you want to make. For instance, with the president, and the Kamala extract, he was completely opposed to that, but she wanted to do it, and so he allowed it. So I appreciate Cottle in every scene he's in.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to make sure that we put a little spotlight on this particular performance. Not only the production team and the director who chose to shoot this human being in this way, but this gruff doctor who's no nonsense. He's not comfortable on a pedestal. He takes his job incredibly seriously. I don't think you value your life as much as he values your life. And at the same time, cigarette dangles, baby. If he could smoke 3 at once, he would.
Yeah, and speaking of vices, we see Saul hitting the bottle again, right after.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah, so let's...
Yeah, he pulls out the flask right in there.
He really likes that cognac.
Boxy found him some source for alcohol, or passed it on to Ellen, I guess, because wasn't he running out the last time we saw him hitting the bottle?
Yeah. That's a Boxy theory. He snuck Ty his alcohol. That's what it was.
Come on. So let's go to scene 5 and we'll move on. Adama's surgery with Cottle at the scalpel. They are struggling. So they make a point of creating this whole scene where there's actually no interactive dialogue. It's all this descriptive of how they're struggling to save his life. This isn't an easy surgery, even under the learned and skilled hands of Doc Cottle. Then we cut to Ty chugging from a flask. Billy comes in asking about the old man. He asks for meds for the president. Ty gives him the mutiny gears. Ty departs, giving Billy the stink eye, and winds up in the same conversation with Lee in the CIC.
Yeah.
Why aren't you in the brig? He barks. Ty, clearly drunk, fumbles his way through an argument with Lee over command of the air group. Ty silently concedes and Duella furrows her brow, recognizing that Ty has fallen off the wagon. Gata 2 sees Ty isn't sober as Ty digs into Lee over the search and rescue mission status. Lee explains his SAR plan, and Ty continues to press about the base ship, whether or not it was actually destroyed. Lee assures him that they had visual confirmation. Gata is now creeping in Ty's shadow. He's confronted by Ty as to what he wants. The press, who entertained the mutiny, is demanding to be released. Ty is incredulous. Duella informs Ty that the Quorum of 12 has boarded and is also demanding to see Ty. Lee mentions the responsibility of command. Ty orders the press to the wardroom until he's ready to engage them. He exits in a huff. End of scene.
Yeah, I love that. I love that line from Lee. Demanding job, commanding a Battlestar.
Yeah.
Drew is the mighty Echo today.
Yeah, but Lee totally gave him that little friggin' fire back right there when he dropped that line on him, and I always liked that. I was like, oh, he fucked him over with that line.
Well, this is like the 4th or 5th time that these two have locked horns over this issue. We now have this serial aggression towards one another as to how they actually both openly agree that they're not fit for command. So imagine, folks, if you will, what it would be like to have somebody in your life who is so incredible at what they do, and you look up to them and you love them and you admire them and you deeply respect them, and yet you're thrust into their job and you know you're shitting the proverbial bed. So now we've got Lee and we've got Ty, and they're both just, sniping at one another, saying, neither one of us know what the hell we're doing here. We're both terrible. And this is an extension of that.
You said 2 things that I liked in that little section, Raquel. You said Dualla twice. This was one of the couple of scenes.
Your future ex-wife.
Where my future ex-wife Candace McClure was in. Love seeing her. It wasn't enough. It's still not enough. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode. You know how I feel when I don't have enough Candace in my episodes. But I don't.
Oh, cat, there we go.
So I'm looking at the scene between Apollo and Ty. And just like Raquel was saying, we've seen these guys go at it back and forth. I think they're both competent at what they do, but I think their personality gets in the way of their abilities. And especially with Ty drinking, being, again, here we go with stress, someone else who's been going through a constant stressful situation, and his weakness is drink. and here he is drinking again. And you know, every time he does this, every time he goes to that crutch, he loses focus. I think that if he wasn't drinking, he would have a bit of a better handle, but I don't think he'd be dealing with the situation in any case as well. He's a great XO.
Yeah, I want to ask George. George, what was your take on Colonel Ty in this episode?
You know, the interesting thing is when I was trying to formulate thoughts regarding all this. I mean, I just survived an entire season 1, and season 2 opener was a humdinger. But then I was actually looking forward to the personal touches on the actors, or the personal stories, because that's when you know that they've already exceeded their budget. Now they're going to have to do those quiet stories. And the one thing that really bugged me about Ty, and again comparing to the 78 character, is that as gruff as he was, I was still looking for that one piece of frailty in the character. Because something about Ron D. Moore is that as great as the stories were scripted, the one thing that I think he took away from JMS, from Babylon 5, is that it will take a little while for the character to actually show the error of their character, or the fault of their character. And this particular episode, which I recall, is that there was a few cracks in the character, and the way the guy, I forgot the guy's name, the actor, but the guy's
Michael Hogan.
Yeah, the guy's a brilliant actor.
Yes.
In terms of character acting, that guy's right up there, with the A-list characters, A-list actors. And every time I saw him on screen, it was like, I want more. And in this particular episode, it's like, I wanted more. I wanted more. I know there was an entire season coming up and all that stuff, but this is one of the few episodes that when I experienced it for the first time, it's like I felt it was lacking. They didn't show enough of the character. They didn't show enough interaction. It was literally here's the character, here's the shots, but now we have to go to the other characters, because this whole episode's loaded up with a bunch of other characters too.
All right. Any other thoughts?
I think that he does show that he's vulnerable, but I think that he's a man who is honestly struggling with addiction. When you look at Ty, you look at somebody who he knows the difference. And how we see this is in this, again, this wonderful treatment of mental illness in this show. This is a show that doesn't exploit mental illness as literary device. It actually deals with it. And it deals with it in a beautiful way. It's powerful. It leaves us in the same position as if we were struggling it with someone we love. And how we see this is Ty is always shame drinking. We rarely see Ty with a sexy, a snifter and a bottle of bourbon, and he's drinking from the snifter in some sort of social situation.
No, only when his wife has her foot up someone else's crotch.
Yeah, well, yeah. When Ellen is foot raping somebody. But what I'm saying is that we see this shame in him, where he recognizes that he has a problem because he's drinking from his boot, or he's drinking from his breast, or he's drinking from his pocket. And that's when you truly know that somebody's really struggling. He knows this, and he carries this in the shame of concealment.
Well, that's because his best friend wouldn't allow it. His commander, Adama, would not allow that. I mean, look at the stress when Gaeta is behind him trying to tell him something. He turns around and goes, "What are you hovering about?" Like he's just set off by everything.
Hurry up, my bum, do it!
Oh man. Hey, Steven, Boxy's trying to take over.
Uh-oh.
You see that?
I see that.
Yeah. Boxy's trying to explain his logs, man. Go ahead, Steve, and give the Boxy report.
Boxy logs. I was the one supplying all the booze to Ty. It was revenge for all the things he did to me in the past. Things so bad. That's why you didn't see me after the first episode. Boxy logs. Things so terrible I can only show you where. Oh, I don't even want to read that.
Yeah, don't, baby, don't. Kat, let me let you in. Kat, let me let you in on the joke. Obviously, you know that Box is like a come and go character, and we never see a true fulfillment in this character in the modern series.
Right.
So the fans have gotten together and they make the most heinous and hilarious Boxy theories. Sometimes I have to tell them when they're being too vulgar, but most of the time it's just dirty and fun. But they do get to the line where you're like, okay, guys, like that.
Yeah, you're on the Rated R Battlestar podcast, girl. I like this. You see what Toxic Man Blue said? I am gonna make a new mixed drink called the Thrusting Daggett. That's gonna be a hit. I'd buy it.
Yeah. Keep your Daggett off my leg. Have you sprayed or neutered your Daggett today? Somebody call Bob. Bob Barker needs to be here to neuter the Daggett.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's great. All right. Go ahead. Let's get into the next scene, Raquel.
Keep going. Okay, so then we cut to the president's bedside. She's in jail. She wakes up screaming. Billy is there and offers help. Of course, we know at this point that the president is in withdrawal. And then we cut to being back on Cobalt. Callie counts 6 missiles in production. Gaius steps into a dream state, back at the Caprica house with 6. She attributes all murder to humankind, a sick addiction, an art form through which we know this, though we know this to be utter rubbish, animals also kill without guilt. What's interesting here is her wording. She carefully calculates a way of saying that man has no art by saying killing is our one true art form. This is clearly a technique of brainwashing, and Gaius calls her on it, reminding her of the genocide of nearly the entire human race. She turns it back on him and says, very much like the daemon in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, that the children are always the product of the parents, as though only ugly, murderous things create more of the same. Gaius asks about the messianic deliverer child. 6 explains the child brings salvation. Those are her exact words. But only if Gaius accepts the role of father and guardian. This is key diction. Gaius rebukes the idea. 6 challenges his manhood. Gaius snaps out of his vision, back on Cobalt, to the chief identifying a Dratus dish. The Cylons are building an anti-aircraft weapon to obliterate any rescue team. Cut to the next scene. Guys, did I cut out?
No, you didn't cut out. I'm sorry. But Gaius, he says, we kill them, they kill us, so we kill them. So we kill more of them, so they kill more of us. Like he's really struggling with everything that's going on. You can see him, this character, expanding his mind little by little. You know, his basic traits always remain the same, but he's expanding his observation and understanding of what's going on in the universe around him, little by little, more and more. And then, basically 6 after this conversation says, despite everything, God still wants to give you salvation, and and then she tells him to be a man. So I love Angel 6 telling guys to be a man. That was great.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting because you and I last week spoke about this idea of sacrifice and the deliverer, and we're revisiting that again, Stephen. And here we were talking about how how you can pollute your children and how the parents are responsible for their children, and this idea that the messianic child is just the same as human beings wanting to kill all the Cylons, and it sort of turns everything on its head. Well, I thought that you would really enjoy the fact that that was fleshed out and made bare in this episode, because 6 comes right out and says it.
Yeah, she does. Anybody have anything to add?
No, I think we're good.
What about you, Bear?
No, I thought it was very telling with what Gaius was going through and what he was seeing and realizing. He was realizing he was going to actually have to use a weapon, and a rifle did not look very natural in his hands. And he had a "oh my God, this is going to happen" moment. And I thought that he, surprisingly to his character, the run, flight, scared, gotta protect myself mode with Gaius didn't kick in. He was actually
Gaius and fight or flight is flight every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he didn't fall back to his base instinct to run, and I thought it was an interesting moment for him. It showed a lot of character on his part.
Yeah. He's an emotional coward, isn't he, Bear? He's not just a physical coward. He's an emotional coward. And so when you see him freeze, it's
mind blowing how his protection mechanism kicks in.
Yeah, it's like a switch, isn't it?
Oh man.
Yeah. Kat, is Gaius somebody who you would love to be stuck in the jungle with?
No. I have to eat him. Sorry.
Man, that would cause some serious indigestion.
No, yeah. I was gonna say it would be like now if it was Duala, be a different story.
Yeah, because Stephen would never leave the jungle if Dee were there.
No,
He'd set up camp. He'd build a whole civilization. They'd worship the Dee. The Dee would be like an effigy everywhere.
Well, no. No, if Kat Stephen were there, I think they'd be fighting over Duala.
Yeah, but
I see that big city in that Kat's face.
So me happily taken. You know, my fiance comes with me everywhere I go, or attached at the hip. So it'd just be us, and then he can have Duala all to himself. Fine. I love a not a fighter, so
it's all good in the hood. See,
y'all keep talking about my girl. All right.
Oh man.
No, let's move forward, shall we?
Yep, absolutely. All right, take it away, Raquel.
Then we cut to the CIC. Ty loses it. It's taking too long to execute the SAR, and he blows on Lee. Dee escorts him to the briefing room. The press is waiting. The press attack Ty and the old man. The idea of dictatorship and the demand to see the president is voted upon. The motion carries. Ty smirks and leaves the room, saying he'll consider it. Thoughts?
Ty's a dick.
Yeah. It's on purpose. You know, it's just so he's gonna set her up to look like she's incompetent.
Yep.
Yeah.
To discredit her, to undermine her authority.
Yeah.
It shows his inexperience when it deals with politics too. You know, like first off, he's the XO of a ship. He's used to carrying out the commander's orders and telling people what to do, when to go to sleep, when to wash their ass. You know, so he's not used to dealing with politics, where you have to have a certain amount of nuance with these people, and he doesn't have that. He has no social tact whatsoever. He rejects instinctively the idea that he has to answer or bend or shape or look at the situation from a new frame so that he can communicate with these people. That's an abhorrent idea to him.
Right.
Yeah.
It's such a waste because just get it, you know, it's like just do this. You know, he's a doer. He's a completionist, a finisher, not a I sit here and I plan everything out. He's used to being told this is the word, and you carry out the word, and you just carry that down the chain. That's how it works. So I get it, but he's not ignorant of the politics. He sees an in here as an opportunity, and you know what I mean. So I can see it. I could see him.
Yeah. I think that sometimes when you get in the position that ties in, that you can use your abrasiveness, like if you behave abrasively, then people will find you unapproachable. And so I think that he may be attempting to use that abrasiveness as a repellent because he's not quite sure exactly what Stephen said, how to create these nuanced dialogues that can satiate this bloodlust that they're now accusing them of, you know, a military coup and a coup d'etat, actually a complete takeover the military of what remains of their society.
Yeah, it's quite terrifying. If you were in that situation, if you put yourself in that situation, I mean, we're not far off of it now. Not too far off if you think about it, maybe. But this is terrifying if you think about just the idea that the military is going to take over the government. I'm a part of the quorum of 12. Understand why they're like freaking out. You know what I mean? Completely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And to his mind, his answer is the short answer. So he feels that this is ridiculous, so he's not even going to bother with it. But it is a very serious thing to these people to upholding democracy. There's a statement he makes later on that's very telling, I think, about what he says, and I'll wait till we get there.
Yeah.
Bear? Do you want to chime in? Or George? Do you have anything to say about this scene?
No, actually, I agree with a lot of the stuff that's been said. The one thing that's go back to not enough of the characters that's, you know, in the way it got described here is, you know, he's a blunt instrument.
What a wonderful turn of a phrase.
And you know, that's you know, if you look at the contrast between him and Adama, is that, you know, one's a blunt instrument, the other one's subtle and suave. And you know, the thing that really captures me about the whole thing about the new Battlestar Galactica is that I loved James Olmos, right? But I loved him, and I was so struck with this actor from Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And that solo episode where he took down a whole a hit squad with a samurai sword.
Yeah.
Right. That was from that moment on. It doesn't matter what the character did. It was I fell in love with. But when he was doing Adama, and I kept on going back to the 78 episode when I was looking at Ty and Adama, and they were too similar to each other. Other than just a black actor and a white actor, their characteristics were very similar. But here, it's like you literally have a blunt instrument, and that's the thing that I was waiting for in this episode. You know, just to see how much of the character can come out, how much more of the mystery out of this character can be shown. And yeah, you know, the drinking, I have to tell you, the drinking aspect of the character, I thought it was an easy cop out. You know, you make a character drunk in a story, and he's having his demons and he's working through them and all that stuff. It's just an easy cop out. There could have been other more subtle vices or problems that the character had that would have made it much more profound instead of easy TV audience satisfaction.
Do you have any suggestions? I mean, alcohol kills millions and millions of people every year. It remains basically the scourge of our society. Can you think of a device or an addiction a little more subtle that you think would have been worthy of the show, George?
There's many. He could have been working, you know, since he is a blunt instrument, they could have easily put him working through a moment in time where he regretted so much that it actually created his character to be a blunt instrument, because he was fortifying his feelings of the tragic moment where in the past, and that's a very subtle way where someone psychologically is literally fortifying their responses because of a profound, passionate decision that was very tragic in their past, and they couldn't get over it.
Like a traumatic memory.
A traumatic memory, yes.
Nice.
I like that.
That's nice, George. I want to give a shout out to Richard Hatch, who was in this scene. Tom Zarek was back.
Yes.
I think we deserve to say, "Hail, Richard Hatch." Love seeing him whenever he's a part of the show, and he was the one that brings. I like his character. He said that he was concerned that they were paving the way for a dictatorship, martial law, and it's strange to see the character that we got before with him when we have seen him before to where he is now. He's playing this very political, more reserved than I think we've ever seen Zarek.
Mm-hmm. No, you can definitely tell that he wants to rehabilitate his image, right? And yes, I agree with you. It's so nice to see him because, as I've said in the past, he was my David Cassidy. He was my Sean Cassidy. I thought those two guys were just ick. But I'll tell you something. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
Right? In the OG, like when you're talking the OG, I mean, he's eye candy.
Oh, yeah, man. The 78 show. He had all the ladies.
Was the eye candy for you, Drew?
No, that was Cassiopeia, buddy.
Okay.
I was all about that Cassiopeia when I was a kid.
Good answer.
And Athena.
Could we please highlight Toxic Man Flu at 8:22 p.m., please?
Oh, this right here.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Alcohol Built America. Johnny Appleseed was what they called the person who sold hard cider. We were a country of drunks for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not
What do you
wrong.
mean were?
It's been around for a long time. So, yes.
The natives had to call that.
They say alcohol sales have gone up like 45% or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of contributed to that. I got a huge bottle of Jack Daniels behind me, and I mean, I'm not drinking it right now, but yeah,
a lot of whiskey and vodka and such in the military. I've had my fill. I'm good. Learned a lot of hard lessons.
Yeah.
Hey, it takes me almost a week to drink a 2-shot thing of Hennessy.
I don't. Yeah,
for nursing my drinks. I'm notorious for pouring a drink and not never getting to it.
Well, yeah, if you don't drink very often and you have a little bit of cognac every now and then, a little bit it goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm the sipper, not the chugger anymore.
And no one here is shame drinking. I hope nobody's drinking from their breasts and their legs. That would not be good, right?
No.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
Leave it to Raquel. Okay. Also, Saul says toward the end of the scene, Saul says, about the old man. He says he believed in freedom and democracy and all that good stuff.
Toxic, man.
Yeah, Boxy Log. I can kill the toasters myself. Hold my beer. Right?
Oh, man.
DMF, I love you. I love you. Your profound thoughts and your wicked humor. Please continue. Chat.
Toxic is
your
great.
best. We are here for you, not for us.
That's one of my boys, man. Toxic and Parrot Head, they've been bringing it strong since they started joining in these chats, man. So I love them guys. Big shout outs to them. All right, so go ahead.
So then we cut to the president in deep withdrawal, and she's babbling, and Ellen's there, offering to get her anything. Laura asks her for a lawyer. Ellen laughs and treats the president like a junkie, asking if she even knows where she is. Laura acknowledges that she knows she's in jail, but Ellen presses. What's my name? She sort of slithers. The president asks if they've met before. Laura excuses herself. Her ears are ringing. The pain passes and she realizes that Ellen, who has now left, was testing her. The president's guard takes up his worry beads and begins to pray. And at this point, I'm going to step in as a Greek. I was assimilated into the Greek culture for 15 years. I was married to a Greek man, and I found it weird, and these are my notes. This is weird because Greek Orthodox using prayer beads and worry beads are not the same thing. So do these people believe in Zeus and the pantheon of the 12 Olympians, or are they Greek Orthodox? This is super weird. And I would just like to make sure that that correction is made because, like I said, I was assimilated into the Greek culture and basically abandoned my own for nearly 2 decades. And worry beads are not the same as prayer beads. And in fact, worry beads prevent you from smoking, drinking, picking things, or, just even if you're thinking, some people use it as a game to flourish or to show your manual dexterity. And it is completely divorced from religion. So I thought it was weird that they had like the two things sort of mixed together there. You don't pray with worry beads. And if you're Greek Orthodox, you're Greek Orthodox. You're not the pantheon.
I thought the funniest moment in that scene was when Mary McDonnell said, "Oh my gods, that was Ellen Ty."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ellen could not have acted more evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was expecting
so good. He's really good.
Yeah, like I was expecting a forked tongue to come out and maybe slap her in the forehead and then go back in her mouth. She is a wicked beastie.
She's diabolical. That's the social player.
She is all about the social status. She is the prototypical opportunistic socialite.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how she rolls.
And that actress, she is just.
She's amazing.
Her, and she's marvelous.
Yeah,
Kate Vernon is great.
Yeah, Kate Vernon actually.
I mean, Kate Vernon was I remember her from Voyager and Species 8472, and
Yeah, she follows me on Twitter, by the way. But yeah, she's an awesome lady. She is.
Yeah, so if she's watching, and I have heard rumblings that a lot of the people in Hollywood sort of hit and miss on these streams. If you're watching, you are sensational, and this whole panel has spoke to your acting ability in the past, but we just want to reiterate, you sparkle. You are just absolutely such a wonderful, wonderful actor. You are so talented. We just love you. Great job.
Well, yeah. It's like and I always bring that wrestling analogy in, but it's it fits perfectly because the best heels are the ones that make you actually
that create heat,
feel the disdain and hate for their character. Then they're doing a good job. She did an absolutely amazing job at generating that heat with the audience where they just didn't like her. And
it's a huge task to play a villain, to play any villain.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can make me hate you on screen, I love you as an actor.
Yeah. And it's usually the sweetest people. Could we please highlight Toxic Man Flu, 8:29 p.m. Because we have a bunch of wonderful friends in Axanar, and I did not know that she had worked with them or had done work with them.
She was in the Axanar.
Yep, she sure did.
She was in the Axanar movie, and then. I know that, big shout out to them and also the guys that are doing the animated stuff. So, that's awesome.
So 2 people or 2 entities that we really love that are a part of our fandom came together. Thanks for that, TMF. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. So let's continue on, Raquel.
Okay, so then we cut to Gaius in the jungle forest on Cobalt. The whole crash site team is scouting the Cylon activity through binoculars. They scout the Cylon site and discuss their plan of action. Crashdown wants to attack. Chief takes him aside. Gaius discovers the whole team has no combat training beyond basic. Crashdown and Chief have a heated discussion about attacking the Cylons. with 3 people without weapons or combat experience. Crashdown silences the chief. Crashdown, who has somewhat snapped his crayons at this point, accuses the ultra-cool chief of losing his cool. Crashdown says the team owes the attack to duty and to the 2 fallen men. Chief says that attacking the Cylons isn't about payback. Crashdown tells him that this is why the chief isn't an officer, and he is. Ooh, burn. Discuss?
It is a huge insult.
Yeah, like super mean, hey?
Yeah, well, we're starting to see the desperation. We're starting to see clearly PTSD has taken over Crashdown. He's just snapped at this point to the fact that, you know, they're in an under fire situation. And to the contrast to that, the Chief's training is kicked in, but he's kept a clear head and stay on mission. But he's also trying to keep the people alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think that at this point, I believe that the authors are, or the author or the group of people creating the show have created the perfect storm for us to start losing faith and respect for Crashdown, obviously because of what's coming that I won't discuss because I don't like to spoil these discussions. But I think that it's the author cleverly setting us up to lose all respect for him. And at this point, you know, I have to say that I'm somebody who never seeks the leadership position. I like to support really creative people. What I tell people is, you know, I'm the Spock and I'm always looking for the Kirk because I like that role. And for me, I guess I'm starting to lose respect for Crashdown because he's the leader. But he is clearly working with somebody who is very talented, who loves everyone and is very compassionate and knows what he's doing. And he's swatting them away like he's a mosquito. So whatever the authors are doing to make me dislike him, to set it up for everything that's going to happen to him to be okay with me emotionally, is totally working. Because if you have talented people around you, you need to listen.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I'm more empathetic with the character because, you know, I'm looking back at the history of what this character's gone through, where they are, and how they're just losing it. I'm happy that Chief Tyrrell is there because he's got common sense. And he's trying to help everyone. You can see him. He understands how to delegate responsibility. He does it every day. You know, he's the chief of the deck chief. You know, so he's doing the best that he can to support the LT.
Right. He's thinking. You know, Stephen. He's thinking more with his analytical mind because he's used to running a hangar deck on efficiency.
Right.
And he's trying to think in terms of efficiency in keeping everyone alive.
But you know, as we're watching Crashdown fall. You know, the fall of this character. You know, yes, I mean, by your nature, you're going to see the way that he's treating people and the decisions that he's making, and you're going to dislike him. I agree with Raquel. I think that was one of the intentions of how they wrote it. But also just having some empathy for a person who has just hit that point of complete critical stress that they've lost all focus. I mean, he's very one-dimensional.
Yeah, he's got a singular focus, but his singular focus is strictly lashing out at the enemy at all costs.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's not going at it in terms of in a tactically sound way or an efficiently sound way. You know, he just wants to, you know, attack the enemy. That's it.
You've got the duality here in responses to these situations, fight and flight. Crashdown is just all fight, whereas Gaius is all flight. Yeah. And even though Gaius doesn't run away from the group, probably because fear holds him to, you know, being in the herd, you know, the Crashdown's way of dealing with this is just strike, kill, eliminate the threat, and not putting anything else into consideration.
Yeah, you know, and see, I'm a fan of Sam Witwer, you know, from his work as Darth Maul in the animated shows.
You're making Kat smile. Keep going.
You know, to the Force Unleashed when I played those games, you know, and it was cool because in this, he kind of in a way sort of channeled Starkiller. Because he had that, I'm just going to lash out with my hate and kill the enemy.
Right.
And it kind of gave me that Starkiller vibe. So I really dug Sam Witwer's portrayal of Crashdown. Like, if there was a guest that is definitely on the list I want to get on here, it is definitely Sam Witwer, because I would love to talk about his portrayal of Crashdown.
Could we please highlight the comment, Toxic Man flew my TMF again at 8:35 p.m.? Because this is the kind of stuff that I love, because I have my areas of expertise and I love learning.
In the Navy, no one gives the chief of the boat any trouble. He's his second only to the captain. This scene actually felt disingenuous to me until I realized they were showing Crashdown losing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
Apollo
what
Patriot,
happened there, guys? Like, is anybody here familiar with that? What would actually happen if the LT and the chief went forehead to forehead like that? Is that realistic? And what would be the fallout of that? I mean, teach me. I like learning, and this is something I know nothing about.
All right, Tox, you wanna take that one since you were?
And maybe it might be different, but in the Army there is a punishment. There's strict insubordination is taken very seriously in the Army. I would presume in the Navy as well. I serve with JSOC, so I serve joint service with every component and branch of the military, including foreign service.
Wow.
And across the board, it's very rare, even in combat, that the chain of command has to be upheld. And so in a normal situation, I've seen this happen where I've seen an NCO be insubordinate to a first lieutenant that was the XO of the unit in the Army and behave insubordinately. I have actually been accused of being insubordinate when I was in the Army. But yeah, no, it's definitely, he would be punished. I mean, I don't think it's even possible that because the LT is in control, command, and is the ranking officer, that if there was going to be anybody, he could even be considered treasonous for his actions and put to death.
Wow. So very
in a wartime situation. That's punishable by the capital punishment.
So Crashdown would have been justified under the UCMJ if it were an Earth story and American military under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. He would be justified within his rights to actually take.
Oh, that is so marvelous! You're a marvel. I love your mind.
Yeah.
Okay,
interpretation.
So there are circumstances where that could happen then, Kat. And what is that called again? I'm sorry.
Toxic gave you the Navy version too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's and what Toxic Mantle is saying a lot about, like, would never do it. They have, just because we're saying that we're within our, it's also under the UCMJ that infidelity is punishable by death. So just because it's in the UCMJ doesn't mean that we follow it to the letter. Just like any other code of justice, there's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law, and then there's the moment. And in this moment, I don't believe that it's disingenuous to show the LT. And the chief going back and forth, because I have seen and witnessed insubordination in my unit many times. But yeah, it's true that I don't see it often, because there's a great strength in being bound in strong solidarity with your NCOs.
This tells me the fact that you two disagree on this. This tells me, this heightens actually how much I love the show, because I guess this would be highly controversial. Some people would feel that it would be necessary to do this, and then other people would be like, that's the no zone. What are you doing? Stop it.
Parrot had former Army, so first Louis aren't too bad.
You have your second lieutenant, your butter bar, which is a brand new in the Army, the brand new second lieutenant, and then you have the first lieutenant, and then you'd have your captain, et cetera, in the Army. The ranks are similar but different between the branches. So, but more or less, the position is no different from having your master sergeant or your first sergeant. In the Army company, it's usually the first sergeant, so who advises and commands the NCOs in the unit, and then confers with the captain and the XO. Hey,
Steven, you got you a boxy log, buddy.
Boxy logs. I didn't just kill the toasters, but I turned them into a flask for all these damn drunks around here. Added nipples to the Walton flask, though, molded by Ellen too. My man.
Oh my gosh! Can we please keep that forever? That's probably the best boxing theory we've ever had ever in the history of the show.
Well, I don't know. There's another one.
That one's so funny.
I'm insubordinate all the time. That's why I have to hide hide the ducks and such on the Galactica. Well, that and to pick up all the tapes I have from all the cameras. Damn, Boxy. What?
So funny.
That one Boxy log was good, man. Like, we'll keep that up for a bit. All right, go ahead, Raquel.
Okay, I'm going to blow through 2 cuts so that we can move a little bit quicker. So we cut to Crashdown graphing his plan of attack. Gaius tells him he's lost his mind. He calls a vote. Chief interrupts to reinforce the chain of command. The briefing continues. His plan is to get at the console. Then we cut to the president, now in full withdrawal mode, talking to herself and rocking manically. The guard comes in to observe. Billy is there. The guard unfurls the scriptures as Laura is reciting them under her breath. Discuss. Or should we keep going?
No, go ahead and keep going.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Then we cut to Ellen and Ty having an unhappy hour. You've heard happy hour. This is an unhappy hour. He unloads about his day. Ellen reports that Laura is batshit. She encourages Ty to publicly expose her. She mentions, I know, I did it for you, Stephen. She mentions that Gaius is MIA, and that leaves a chance for Ty to seize power and command. Ty, gulping booze, tells her that he'd only do it until the old man recovered. Then we cut to Apollo doing the SAR. Any thoughts?
Oh my God. I love your fucking notes, man. Your notes are godly. I bow to your notes. Holy shit.
Well, you guys are so wonderful that I figured if I could just do the summaries and then you guys can add all the juicy stuff and teach me.
It's like he just reports the president. That's it.
So unhappy hour. It's kind of sad because everything with Ellen is just really sad unless she's foot raping you. If you're being foot raped by Ellen, maybe you like it, maybe you won't.
Oh man.
Bear. George, do you have anything to add?
No. My thoughts are more metaphysical in terms of what ifs and story structure. These guys are talking about substance of character, which is actually fascinating. I've never actually seen Battlestar Galactica from this point of view.
Nice.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, you guys experienced my point of view, and my point of view is more story structure and the fault in the formula. Well, you guys are actually delving into characterization, and it's really fascinating.
Well, that's normally what Script Doctor does, but he couldn't make it this week. He's our he looks at the story. He works on script, so well, I guess we're missing that small element of the show. But thank you, George. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we love that because when you get 6 authors together and we all do different types of writing, it's such a pleasure to have that brainstorm for all of us to be able to meet at all of these points of writing and conceptualizing and fleshing out these people that we want to write on the mind's eye. And so that's incredibly flattering, and I'm so happy to have another writer on the show with us. Thank you, George.
Shucks.
Well, I've always thought that Ellen was, she was always emphasizing and embellishing the batshit crazy, but she's actually a very smart, skilled manipulator.
Yes.
And she knows how to get what she needs, and she knows how to make other people do what she wants them to do, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Well, like the quote that she says to him, if Adama doesn't survive, then you have control over the command over this fleet, over this ship. You know, you can see that she's working that idea into his head, that, you know, and then by proxy, she will have command of the fleet and the ship.
Yep. And what a disaster that would be.
Yeah. Well, she's been gunning for this power for quite some time, and she's angling him and maneuvering him. I mean, it's sort of like watching bumper cars. He's, you know, and he's the bumper car.
Yeah.
And she just keeps on redirecting him towards this nasty and terrible thing that would be the ultimate betrayal of his friends. And quite frankly, and when you're developing a character, I think that his esteem for the old man is basically the only thing he has left. And if he abandons that, well, Ty will be lower than a snake in a wagon rut. There'll be no redeeming him at that point. So this is fire. This is so hot. Get away from that. Ellen, fire, Ty.
Just a drunken, angry cuck. Poor Ty.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell it like it is.
There we go.
Oh my God, I love you, Kat.
Oh God, yeah. This was great. Did you get the boxy theory there, Stephen?
She wasn't bad shit. She just lost her special flask that I made. Well, it looked like a certain male body part, bigger than Ty's was. Yeah.
Oh boy, I've heard it all now. I wonder if in real life there are like Steely Dans that are flasks. Wouldn't that be interesting? You just pull that out of your pocket when you're at a concert. I think that would be different, now wouldn't it?
The most phallic-like object I've ever drank from was a horn. That's it. That's as far as I'm going.
Horn, yeah.
Let it be.
Jeez. All right. Do we have any other thoughts on that? Are we good? Are we ready to move on?
No, we called Ty a cuck. We're ready to go. All right, let's roll.
All right.
Okay, so we'll do 2 scenes in a row, so that gives you lots of juicy juice. So then we cut to Cobalt. The team is running mental drills on weapons usage. Six appears to tell Gaius they will turn on one another. She tells Gaius that if the attack fails, he'll die. He denies this and declares himself God's instrument. Six warns Gaius that her God has no dominion over the happenings on Cobalt. He wakes from his sixth vision, crashes down, dons his fallen comrades' dog tags, and cues Gaius to prep. Then we cut to drunk Ty looking at old buddy photos of Adama. Duala is on the horn. The press wants to see the president. Ty says anal insertion is preferred to the delight of the would-be dictator Ellen. Duala silently motions to Gaeta that he's drunk, tipping up her thumb. Duala presses, and Ty says soon they will see what has become of their precious president. So, yeah. Ty wants to be anally inserted instead, which is, I thought was
we have a running theme tonight.
Yeah. Oh, Ty.
Oh man, you know, it's like yes. Tonight, guys. Unfortunately, the podcast has entered the hashtag territory of hashtag backhole in one.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes, please. Beware the Drew. Don't forget to hashtag beware the Drew.
I love hating Michael Hogan on screen. You know, like why don't
I know he's such a great actor.
Great actor. You know, and just his responses in this episode and in the next episode. Can't wait to review that.
Google it, but then I'm not responsible for what's on your Google.
Brian,
the Gravedigger's here.
Under surveillance, so how could it do? Let's see. Yeah, actually a relief that you're actually not looking up serial killers and crazy murder and, you know, ways to kill people 1,000 ways, because I write a lot of horror. Research, right?
So
welcome home, Brian.
Brian says prison wallets.
Hey, old brother, can't wait for you to come back.
Oh man, yeah. He says, haha, hashtag beware the druid.
Right? I love that one too, Brian.
Yeah, Toxic Man Flu said, I swore off the D jokes for tonight, and then you guys start talking about the back door.
Sorry.
Listen,
Ty did it, not us. Ty just said, no, he would rather be receiving something out the outbox rather than having anything to do with that.
Hey, Parrothead, correct me if I'm wrong. We were in John Talk's chat, and he said #beware the Drew, and I said it back to him. And then John was like, yeah, we love Drew Taylor over there at Bounty in the Comics. So it's getting around, buddy.
Oh, my God. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. Nice. Hey, Brian said, I'm making strides, y'all. I got a raise in the promotion day.
Oh,
hey,
nice.
Hey, Brian, if you got a raise, did you get her name?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, you had to take something so glorious and just take it down to the gutter, didn't you?
I know.
We don't do that on this show.
Beware the Drew.
Oh, God. Voxy is into songwriting now. Oh, God.
Oh, nope. Nope.
Oh, God.
Foxy is a little boy, guys. You can't, that's off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Red alert. Nope.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. At least not while I'm here. Just no.
Oh, God.
So then we have one of these moments where the director wants to move the story forward in rapid succession. And how they do that is, of course, doing these multiple cuts from one place to another place to another place to sort of bring us up to speed on what's happening with everyone and transition ideas. So we have a rapid fire, which is very common in Battlestar Galactica. So we have Laura's guard handing something off covertly to Billy in a corridor. It's quite dark. It's a small cylinder. We do a quick cut to racetrack and a raptor with Lee. There are 2 raptors in a rescue team. Then we cut to Cobalt. Crashdown gives the order to do the plan, but 5 Cylons are there, and they shouldn't be. That's the wrong count. They have an opportunity to take out just the Dratus dish, but Crashdown wants combat. He orders everyone out to execute the plan. Callie is frozen. Crashdown orders her out as bait. Chief interrupts and says this isn't necessary. Crashdown tries to force her. Crashdown holds her at gunpoint. Point blank, he says he'll shoot her. He starts to count down. Gaius kills him from behind on 3. The Cylons release a hail of gunfire. Obviously, they gave away their position. The prophecy is now fulfilled. 6 appears. Gaius is the killer, the betrayer. 6 tells Gaius, now you're a man. So once again, this idea of emasculating him. But we're also playing with this wonderful thing where we have this monotheism, and then we have the pantheon of the gods. And the author wants to keep us guessing, who is Gaius? Is Gaius the deliverer? Is Gaius the Messiah? Or is Gaius the Judas? And we see him equally in all of these measures. He could be anyone or all of these things. So I thought that was very interesting. Your thoughts, team?
Oh man, this was a powerful scene. The thing where the showdown was happening. Crashdown was holding Callie with his pistol, and then counting down, and I'm like, oh shit, Callie's gonna buy it. And then Gaius is the one to step up and do something which you would never think, but given the situation, he just did. And that's it was just I think like at the original watch, when I first saw this in real time on Sci-Fi the night I was watching it, my jaw hit the floor when I saw that, because I was like, what just happened? What? And it was a super powerful moment. And obviously it's funny because it's foreshadowing too, because at a point later on, you'll see where Gaius tries to actually use the situation to his advantage. But that's not for a while.
You think about the last time Callie was in a situation where a gun was involved. She was on the prisoner ship. She just bit this dude's face off because he tried to sexually assault her and then shot her in the stomach. So she's already got some kind of feeling probably about being around weapons. She's not used to weapons. Now she's being asked to be a soldier in a situation that she is unprepared for. I don't question Callie's bravery. Like I said, that fighting situation back on that episode on the prisoner ship, like that's when I knew that this character is going to do what she has to do to protect herself no matter what. So really this is just, I think, part of that, maybe the memories of that, the last interaction that she had with a firearm and being in a situation where she is completely out of her element, uncomfortable. She is not a soldier. So Crashdown pulling a gun on her, that was the moment like where I got that feeling where Raquel had.
Yeah.
That established him as a bad guy. He was a bad guy at that point. And then Cyril pulling the gun on him, I'm like, yes, that's what I expect. I expect that from my man. What I did not expect when the first time I watched this was Baltar being the one to do it. He's the one that shot him. And that really shows that I know we give Baltar a lot of grief, that character, because he's a pretty shady dude. But when it came down to it, he saw what was going on and he made the decision to murder the LT. Yeah. And I think that speaks a lot to the potential of the character of Gaius Baltar, as well as where his line is drawn.
Yeah, and I think that the author was very clever because we are reminded that he is a doctor who's taken the Hippocratic Oath at the beginning when he has that discussion about not being a doc, as in a DOCK, and that he's a doctor. And I think that that's the ultimate moment when the author has set us up to realize that ultimately Gaius will choose life, and whether or not he has betrayed his entire race to this genocidal, crazy, emerging automaton society is neither here nor there. He has these moments where he realizes that he has to do what he has to do, and I think that doctor impulse awakened in him. I don't think that it particularly shows a reflection of his character, because I actually think that the author may be describing and showing us somebody who may be sociopathic. In the very least, he has NPD, and he has raging NPD.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, guys, at points, he just feels like he cannot be redeemed. What do you think, Kat?
Yeah, it's all about me. I'm so ashamed. I know I secretly screwed everybody over, and I'm the betrayer. He is a betrayer. He is a betrayer. So he's living with that, and of course, it's all about him. It's all about him and himself. He hates himself. There's definitely self-loathing going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Guilt and shame, and that is usually the driving characteristic of someone with narcissistic personality disorder. Is the reason it's all about them is usually because they it comes from somewhere usually. But in the story of Battlestar, I think, you do see that MP. Yeah, he definitely has that narcissistic personality to begin with.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need that gift, that old lady. It said it's been 84 years. Would I see this quote from I Am Boxy?
Come back.
Yes, the adult version of Boxy, game on, guys, do whatever you want. But when you post My Generation Boxy with his pet, I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, agreed.
Don't do
that. I'm gonna remove it.
Toxic. God.
Galactica through the back door. The Legend of Beware.
Oh, Jesus.
The legend grows.
Boxy theory. He died in Saul's outbox.
Oh, boy. Okay, onward and outward. Oh, no, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
DJ, you're here. Hi, DJ.
Hey, hail DJ Odyssey.
What's up, DJ?
I think Boxy's been drinking from those flasks he's been making. Yeah. Yes.
My colleague Don from Mounting Into Comics says hello to Kat.
Hey,
yes,
brother.
Isn't she wonderful? Just so amazing.
Boxy Parrothead said Boxy wasn't drinking from the flask; he was just enjoying them. Oh man! Hey, JJ Sith Lord, I see you, buddy. What's up to you? Hail, buddy. Toxic Manplu says, is Baltar a psychopath, no conscience, or a sociopath, weak conscience?
Yeah. Actually, I go back and forth on that. Like, I think I've gone back and forth on that. And it just shows the quality of the writing on this show, because he's really a puzzle. And sometimes I find his actions terrifying because I feel like he's betraying himself, and then other times I just roll my eyes and I'm just like, oh my God, Gaius, you're emotionally or morally bankrupt. Like, I go back and forth. What about you, Stephen?
I'm sorry, I was petting my dog.
I'm don't
lost.
do that on air, please.
No, not that. Oh my God, Raquel, you're such a dirty mind.
I love you, Stephen.
It's all good. No, I
think Baltar floats between a psychopath and a sociopath.
Yeah.
And I think he has some schizophrenic tendencies. Big time.
Yeah, I can see those. Definitely, Bear. Parrothead says, which Baltar was worse, the current one or the OG? The OG was more the mustache twirler. This Baltar is definitely way more in the complexity department.
I think if the OG had gotten more than one season to flush out that story, he would be the better.
I would say the OG was a little bit more evil incarnate, and Baltar's a little bit evil incarnate, but with
I mean, dude, that was fucking John Colicos, man.
Right.
The guy that played, Core.
He was a Klingon, right? Thank you.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Could we, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's not because I want to talk. Could we please highlight a Brian the Gravedigger, 9:03 p.m.? Kat, Brian is a regular panelist, and we absolutely love him. And he's left the show for a little while because he's working and doing other things. Stephen, could you please read Brian?
Sure. This was the first time Baltar did something for someone else. In my opinion, this was his turning point. Yeah. I mean, I look at it this, Brian, I miss you. I kind of look at it almost the same way. It showed a redeeming ability within him, some kind of quality. And I love redemption arcs, even though, as we know, we can't talk about the future, but okay. Look, it was a great time. I can't say anything else because then I'll go into further episodes.
Yeah.
Boldbore brings up a good point. OG Baltar was a schemer. He was like the scheming kind of guy. He was.
He was full on evil.
Yeah,
he was dastardly.
Yeah.
Dastardly. What a great adverb.
Very much like the evil guy, in the Captain Proton holodeck thing from Star Trek.
Yes.
Knife, I'm taking over the world,
And that was a play off of Flash Gordon.
Yes.
I thought it was well done too.
It was terrific. I thought that was I don't know, but when you say if he floats between, it's just like, I know that we're talking about a human-like race, and we're not talking about, but they are like humans. They're basically supposed to be us, right? Same people, essentially, right? So I think, in our modern understanding of psychopathy, that you can't be both a sociopath or a psychopath. No. You have to be one of the. If you're going to be diagnosed with anything, you have to be one or the other. Mm-hmm. I don't think a person can really float between them. You're either one or the other. And the basic core thing about psychopathy, my understanding, a great deal of research, having to write about it. You do a lot of research. I actually read the FBI's profiling on serial killers. Ooh. So I've studied this a little bit, and what my understanding, the biggest distinction is that they really do consider psychopathy more and more now in the modern times to be a variant brain structure. In other words, you really are born that way. And there's a naturally occurring phenomenon that's taking place neurobiologically in your brain, the way you don't process the environment the same way that other people do. And so there's an explanation for that. Now, if I were going to apply that to Baltar, I don't see him as a psychopath, because I've watched a lot of documentaries about psychopaths too. And there's a flat affect. There's an inherent flat affect that many of them have inherently, and it's part of that variant brain structure.
I would say more sociopath.
Yeah, I think the scheming, that when we talk about him being a schemer in the original, even I would even classify the OG Baltar as to be a sociopath and a manipulator, a chameleon, somebody who changes and presents whatever the other people want them to see in order to get whatever status, whatever power. But Gaius has done that. He sold him his body and self in a way, and his society, his entire people.
Yes.
to sex, basically. I think is
like Judas with the coins, and then he immediately feels the guilt. So we're getting more of this, and this is why I think that Stephen and Brian are correct. You know, we're seeing these little fleeting moments of guilt and trying to be good, because like Judas, he isn't all bad. He just is a serial bad decision maker.
Yeah.
And sometimes he can do things that they are truly evil, but then he has this massive regret. And but Stephen and Brian have highlighted the fact that we need to see these little glimmers of this redemption, because I think it goes to more of that storyline of this Judas idea. And they're always making us hang on whether or not this is Judas or Deliver. Is this messianic? Is this the betrayer? And I think it's incredibly interesting.
Well, thank you, and well said, ladies. And I want to say thank you, Kat. You learn something every week on the Pegasus Actual Podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Toxic Man Please said, imagine the hubris of OG Baltar to be okay being the last human in the universe.
Yeah.
How
would you live with
no imaginary friend?
Yeah, Bear. Yeah, Bear. Right?
Yeah.
Bear's made a good point. There's no imaginary friend at that point. Now you're all alone with your volleyball.
Brian is Kat's got some kudos rolling in. So let's give her props. Yep. So Parrothead said you guys need to have Kat on more often.
She's awesome. I told you guys. Bonafide nerd.
Got some
Raquel is
props for Raquel. And Parrothead said, I guess I'm a big pig man. Kat's a great guest, says Orbital Nation. All right.
Yes.
Nice.
Great panel. We can only be as
West
good
says,
as
hail to Catherine King.
Yeah.
Hail to all of you. Thank you.
Yes. So all right, let's bring it home, Raquel. Let's
okay, so we cut to the Raptor descent. Then we cut to the team outrunning the Cylon onslaught. Celix is shot. Callie goes back for her. The Chief is shot. They try to take out the dish. The Chief does. The Raptors are overhead. They blow the dish. The Chief gets separated. The gunfire is devastating. He goes ballistic, stands up, and suicide confronts the Cylons in a blaze of glory. The Raptor takes out the Cylons. They're saved. We cut to the Quorum heading down the corridor with Ty. Laura is sitting in silence. Laura stands up. She makes a composed statement. She promises to fulfill the prophecy and rational decisions. The rulers discuss the prophecy of the dying leader. She reveals she has cancer. Laura does. They praise the gods for this deliverance. Ty orders them removed. The guard delivered her drugs, and she thanks him. And it's obvious now to all of us that we've been let in on what was exchanged, right? That little cylinder. So that's the author signaling, let's close this up. There's no mystery here. We delivered the Kamala. Then we cut to Kobal's rescue and reunion. Chief hands in all the dog tags to Lee. Lee asks how Crashdown died. Gaius pipes up, leading the charge. Now, I wonder to myself, is this to save Crashdown the disgrace or to save himself the inquiry? Callie and Chief don't correct him. Six says she's proud of Gaius. She calls her on her earlier accusation that humans are incapable of poetry, art, music, literature, just murder. Gaius asks if this is all he has to pass on to the Messiah or deliverer baby, the toaster. She tells him everything will be all right. She assures him that she will act as his conscience. Gaius is called to the Raptor. They're leaving. We spend some time with the camera accentuating this trial of Judas. So we have this close-up of Gaius's face. Then we cut to Cottle's cigarette dangle. He'll live, he says. Ty saying in a super Dr. McCoy way that he'll wake up when he damn well wants to. Ty apologizes to the old man. Ty holds a press conference deferring to Adama's wellness. He dissolves the quorum and declares martial law. The crowd erupts. He orders them off ship. He takes out a boot flask and starts chugging. And that's the end.
Let me just say what I loved. The first part of all that, there was a couple scenes there, was the way, I'm sorry, female characters done right. Mary McConnell, all right, she's sitting there spacey, and everybody's, wondering if she's going to come to or if she's crazy. And Saul is there, and he's like, yeah, so she's crazy, get everybody get out. And then she, pardon me for being crude for a minute, does the male equivalent of standing up and placing her dick on the table.
Yeah.
And just takes command of the situation, completely takes all the power that Ty felt that he had in that situation, speaks to them, basically reveals that she is having visions, and then they talk to the Geminon, the representative of Geminon, and the exchange goes on about their religious scriptures, and of the dying leader. And she admits to having breast cancer, and yes, that she is dying, and she's going, they have found Cobol, and when they get the Arrow of Apollo, we're going to find the way to Earth. She takes complete command of that situation. I love the turnaround, because when you come in, you're like, oh God, here we go. I mean, you kind of get a hint, with the exchange from the security guard when you see him, give that vial to Billy, but like, you don't know. They've built it up to that because she's, been dealing with this withdrawal this entire episode. But I love Mary McDonnell's screen presence, her acting ability, how she went from someone who was trembling and weak to just projecting that type of strength and command in that scene. Hail to Mary McDonnell. I can't say enough good things.
Absolutely lovely. I just so beautiful, just absolutely stunningly beautiful woman, and talented actor.
Yes.
Bear, can we hear from you on these scenes? Do you have anything to add?
Overall, I thought it was well orchestrated. I thought it was done pretty good. I thought the aspect of, basically, we'll say Naval Command, because that's basically what Battlestar Galactica is. It's a summary of Naval Command, and I found the way they handle it very interesting. The fact that martial law was brought up some serious stuff in there, and how they dealt with it. And in the end, I think Ty is very much out of his element. I think he's great as an XO. It's like someone else said, he's the bulldog. He's the one you send in when you need a blunt instrument.
Right. Yeah, what a great turn of phrase from George there.
Yeah, Adama is the real fine laser scalpel when it comes to tacticians and stuff like that. He knows what to do when it comes to that. Yeah. And overall, I thought it was a really good episode.
Yeah, I
thought it was kind of ironic that it kind of matches up with what's going on just a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I had that realization, I was like, "Holy cow! Wow, yeah, okay."
Yeah. George, thank you for that turn of a phrase, a blunt instrument. I think that's really going to stick to the walls of this writer's room, because it's a wonderful characterization of Ty, and bravo to you. Efharistopoli. Kat, what do you think? Or George, anybody, take the floor. What are your thoughts on these scenes?
I would love to hear what George's thoughts were about this end.
Well, the plot twist was expected. I didn't know where it was going, and Ty's wife dying early. She foreshadowed that she would be coming back as a machine. That's kind of obvious, and I didn't feel any passion of her dying. I didn't feel any what's it called? Any feelings whatsoever. All I felt when I was watching the original this series for the first time was, okay, they're going to kill her off. There's going to be a lot of CW moments. Back then it was Dawson's Creek kind of CW moments, and it's like, come on, get on with it, kill her off, bring in the machine. And the thing is, they played that machine swap for the real person too many times, and became like old, kind of like stale. Yes, you understand what I'm saying, guys?
Oh yeah.
And they could have just killed her off, brought in someone new that you wouldn't even know they were a machine, and they could have just played off the whole. Here's the thing about this Battlestar Galactica. One is, yeah, they about the blunt instrument, the subtlety, the easy way in the alcohol, when they could have went much more subtle. And here's how subtle it would have been. If Ty had the PSD, the traumatic moment in the past, and he was living through it, and then what they could have done is sprinkled a scene, a common scene. Every time there's a scene, it happens, and then Ty flips out. But the audience who's watching doesn't get this. But after repetitiveness, we start to see a common pattern, and a particular scene that's playing out in different environments starts to become something that the audience would start to pick up on. Wait a minute, it's when that color red appears, that's when he freaks out, and then the audience would figure it out eventually, but that's after repetition. And
can we see Brian the Gravedigger's comment at 9:18 p.m.? I'm sorry to interrupt you, George.
Yeah.
Can we please highlight and bring that up for the chat? Brian the Gravedigger, 9:18 p.m.
And then you would engage the audience. The audience would be as a detective along with it. But here's the thing: what they missed big time with this Battlestar Galactica. While it was brilliant, they really could have played up the thing from another world quite well, actually. They could have brought in Cylons that you didn't know. They did it in a way, but these are the main cast and all that stuff, and that's whoopee-doo. I'm telling you, they could have played up the entire series as thing from another world, where the Cylons would be almost like a Hail Hydra moment from the Marvel universe.
Okay.
That's the one, Drew. Just a reminder to the whole panel. George, we don't talk about later episodes. Lol. Love you, Brian. Thank you.
And imagine, just that Hail Hydra moment in Battlestar Galactica.
No, it would have been cool.
And there would be Cylons, and then you go like, whoa. There's this huge shift right about now.
In a minor way, we got it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but Hell Hydra moment, thing from another world. They could have played all that stuff out really well, and it kept the audience really, really engaged, because they wouldn't know if that particular character that's on screen right now is a Cylon or not, and the paranoia would see throughout the entire colony, which would make the whole series angst.
Wow. Yeah. See,
there's stressful.
Yeah, there's not a bunch of writers on this panel. Yeah. Thanks. Good job, George.
Love you, Steven.
Yeah, man. And Raquel was asking the question about the medals when they were. Not the medals. The dog tags. When Apollo asked about Crashdown, and I think that was both protecting his reputation and themselves.
Well, yeah, and I think that actually Baltar had a moment of being somewhat honorable, even though he took the man's life. He had the shredded decency to, at least lie that the man died a honorable death. So
I mean, that's also kind of accentuated into the next kind of moment where Angel 6 says, "I'm so proud of you, Gaius."
Yeah.
And he has that question. He was like, if from your perspective, all mankind or all humankind is murder. This is what about not art, not poetry, not science.
Incapable of beauty. And this was very striking to me, Stephen. This was as though it was ripped right out of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. What hast thou wrought? And now this creature is before you. And we keep revisiting this thing where human beings can only create something ugly, something horrid, something terrifying. We are not gods. We cannot create people and these beautiful beings. And so we've revisited this again. But I just find it so striking that it's so out in the front and bare. In every other episode, it's quite subtle. And in this episode, it is laid bare. Here you are, human beings incapable of art, poetry, music, beauty. You create filth, disgusting murder.
Hold on a sec. Let's put a pause on this. Did not God create something ugly when he created the man and woman? I mean, within the context of the man and woman, the human species, if you really look at it objectively, the human species is a very ugly species on the planet compared to every other animal.
Oh no, I agree with you. That's not my opinion, George. It's actually just what 6 is trying to teach him. She's trying to reprogram him through propaganda and trying to shape his thoughts about the human race. So he'll be okay annihilating all humankind, and he'll be okay with this genocide because he'll actually be doing universe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm sympathetic to 6 because she's saying God created something ugly in man. You should kill them.
Spoilers!
And I'm pointing out that in our world, did not God create something ugly in man and woman? Because if you look at it objectively, man and woman are the only destructive animals on this planet.
Yeah.
All right, Brian. I'm gonna have to put you in the brig when you come back.
Yeah, to the brig with you, sir. Off you go. Yes, we talk about that often, Brian. This polytheism, this pantheon of the gods, and the monotheism, and of course, this is a structure taught in classics. How we go from this golden age, where in Greek mythology, where humans walked the earth with gods. And then, of course, there was a separation as society became darker, and they were unwilling to worship the gods anymore. And then, of course, in our own reality, then we moved to monotheism. So we see this parallel in this beautifully written show, and it's a reoccurring theme because, of course, the Cylons are the new generation. They're the new people, the monotheistic people, whereas these human beings, they believe in this polytheism, and they're yesterday's news. They need to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go around the horn, and we'll give our rating if you guys want to give one. I think the episode, all in all, was good. I liked this one. There were some really thought-provoking moments. I give this a solid 7.5 out of 10 for me. So, Raquel?
The thing is that it's very hard for me to rate these shows because the second when you start adding this very cerebral content, these very intellectual, high-minded lessons from classics, and you start using these strong literary devices where you're drawing in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and you're drawing in these concepts, from Greek mythology as well as the Bible and all of these things. I have to give it a 10 out of 10 because of that literary quality. That's something that's missing from television today, and I just think that it is sumptuous. It's sumptuous. It's something I want to immerse myself in. It's like a hot bubble bath, chocolate and wine. Bring it, baby. Bring it.
Can we get a hashtag sumptuous in the chat? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said it in your sexy voice. I love you.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh, yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. George?
Yeah. It's make the.
For me, it's yeah.
Okay. What
if you want a number, I'm gonna have to say potato.
Okay. All right. Fair. All right. Kat?
I give no ratings.
Okay.
You're a guest. You don't have to.
All right. Steven.
Actually, I'm like a 6.8.
Okay.
Really, on this episode, wasn't one of my favorites, although it had some great moments. Had some great moments in it. Why?
Yes.
Did you see how many shots of Dwala did we get in this episode? 3? 4?
I knew that was the reason.
You get 0 Starbucks.
Zero Starbucks. We didn't get any of the story from Silent Occupied Caprica. And I didn't get to show my favorite avatar that the chat loves tonight because Sharon wasn't in. So no, honestly, it's not one of my favorite episodes. There's some shining moments in it that I really enjoy. Let's see, when that moment toward the end, I didn't get to mention this. I guess I'll mention it now. When Saul says to Commander Adama, I really fracked things up for you, Bill, and then he immediately goes out to fracking things up like you didn't have a choice. I love to hate Saul Ty very much. Michael Hogan, cheers, brother. And so not one of my favorite episodes, but yeah, about a 6.8. That's about what I give it.
All right.
Wow. Your mind is a marvel, and I absolutely adore you, and you are so articulate. And I would love to hear even more how you got turned off. Usually you were such a high rater of this show. I'm shocked.
I am. I'm sorry.
So Raquel, you're not going to respond to this?
Which, yes, like this is what I'm talking about. If you want to get to me, get to my mind, and when you have cerebral content and you go for this literary quality, I gotta have it. Just give me some more. I want more of that.
Blue just wants to give you chocolate.
I don't take candy from strangers, Buster.
All right.
Somebody can read lips.
All right, Bear, go ahead, finish it out, buddy.
Oh, I'm gonna go with 7.5.
Okay.
Some of the other characters that are main characters, they got a little forgotten in this episode.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know that that's really that important, but I'll side with Steven a little bit on that.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little more Gaeta too. We didn't get enough Gaeta. I really like that actor and that character.
He's very likable. His character is.
There wasn't much exposition for Alessandro Giuliani in this episode. I noticed. So.
Yeah.
There were moments like him and Dwala had a couple of moments that were funny. They were in the where they usually do work together.
That's pretty run of the mill. We got a sumptuous for you, Raquel.
That's awesome.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. And, may I please request that before we start moving to talking about ourselves and doing humble brags, that we please reach out to the chat and maybe talk about some of the ratings they gave and maybe some of their comments. We've got Brian up here, and I would love it if we could just flash that.
Yeah,
Flash your color tone 10, Brian. 8 out of 10.
Right, yeah. Brian says 8 out of 10. That's what he said. Toxic Man Please says not enough boxing.
Right. Hashtag where is Boxy?
We love Boxy.
Oh my God. Oracle Nation says, Stephen, you're brilliant. You should write a book.
Yes.
Thanks, PJ. I appreciate that.
We'll be getting to those plugs later.
Parrot Head's trying to rate something else. He said, on the Richter scale, how big is Drew?
Oh no! Beware the Drew.
Beware the Drew.
Oh man!
All I have to say there.
So all right. Let's go around the horn. We'll all go ahead and put out whatever you want to do, channel wise, whatever. Of course, me. You can read me on Bounding Into Comics. You can also check out the new website that we launched, sickestofall.com. We've got a little bit of everything there, pop culture news, current events, and a lot of interesting things for people to find that you won't find at the other websites. And like I said, you can read me on boundingintocomics.com. And I love you guys, and thank you for hanging out. So,
hey, Drew, what about your new website?
I did. I just plugged.
Okay. I must have had a brain fart or something.
That's all right.
I swear to God, I did not hear you say it.
I wonder what they smell like.
You start picking out the gray hair.
Coffee.
Yeah. All right.
Without bourbon, of course.
Yeah, Raquel, do you have anything you want to share with folks?
I'm just a professional nerd. I am a PhD in waiting. I do Comtech. I'm a Comtech scholar. I'm just happy to be a part of this little writers circle. It's like a writers club instead of a book club for me. I am honored to be a part of this panel. So the first thing I'm going to plug is Pegasus Actual Podcast and the wonderful Drew Taylor. What a beautiful person he is. I would also like to plug Orville Nation. There is a wonderful man named PJ who runs Orville Nation, and it is a totally wonderful science fiction podcast. And of course, Orville is chiefly what we talk about. And he has all sorts of wonderful guests on, and sometimes it's just all about the fans. And so we're all over the map there. But I do encourage you, please go to Nation_Orville on Twitter, join up PJ, and just become a part of our crew, because he's super cool and he has a great stream. Please go to it. Please subscribe. Please like it. Please hit your notification bells.
And
other than that, Stephen has a book that I want to read and I want an autograph. So I'm going to totally say that out loud, because I just want to plug him. He's marvelous. Thank you to the whole panel. I respect and admire all of you for the work that you do every day, writing, editing, and creating entertainment and art for people. And I just want to thank the chat. Chat, thank you so much. We are nothing, literally nothing without you. You're the reason why we come here. Thank you for allowing us into your homes and into your devices, and just for being a part of it. You guys are terrific. Have a great night.
Hey, Raquel.
Yes, sir.
We should also, as far as PJ is concerned, point out the fact that today, chat, if you go to the website, sickestofall.com, PJ wrote his first article for...
I forgot about that. I'm so remiss.
And I do want to take a moment and recognize PJ.
Yes.
Great first article. He's got... our article about the Orville up there, about reasons why fans needn't worry about Seth and the situation with the Orville. So it is a great read. It's in our editor's picks on the site, so make sure that you check out his article about the Orville.
Yeah, he is the Johnny Carson of these streams, guys. And I know you guys hear me saying that all the time, but it is absolutely true. And I am remiss in not mentioning his latest article. So get on over to Sickest of All and read his article as well. Okay?
Yeah, and I do want to go to George Peter Gatsis here. I also want to thank George for stepping in this evening and joining the panel. He brought some interesting insights. And George, I also want to thank you for being my dear friend.
Shucks.
So go ahead, take it away. Plug what you want to plug, my man.
Yeah.
George.
Plugs are very important to sinks. When you're washing dishes and and your dishwasher is broken, you need to plug the sink so you can fill up the basin and drop in a little soap, not too much, and then just let the dishes soak for a little while, which will make it a lot easier for you to wash the dishes.
All right.
You don't want to scrape the dishes because that is troublesome. You'll end up scratching the dishes. You don't want to scratch the dishes.
Look at the smirk on Bear's face right now. I mean, come on, you got
Don't forget those old-fashioned clawed cast iron tubs. Got to have a plug for that too.
That's right. And it's got to be a very specific plastic because any other plastic will disintegrate when you use chemicals such as acid that you want to dissolve a body in.
The guys with the
Oh my God, George!
the guy
That went dark really quick.
the guys with the wives know. Don't scuff the dishes.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Love you, Parrot Head. Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Follow George on Twitter. George is a wonderful comic book artist.
George is very humble. Yeah, he is very talented, guys. Make sure you look him up, follow him, and support his book, Joe King. Very good, underrated comicscape book, and it needs to be supported because it's an awesome comic. So, all right. Let's go to our guest of honor tonight, Kat King. Take it away.
Woohoo, baby!
I almost accidentally exited the page. I'm sorry. Right when he said it, like guest of honor, I was gonna be like gone.
we were, yeah.
In the Sound of Music, when they're like the family found trap, and they're like not there, and then they try it again, and
we would have had to give you a hard time if you would have done that.
I was like, oh, should I just accidentally? Yes.
Careful the back button on your mouse.
Yes.
That would have been the ultimate mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not a good one for me. But no, I'm Kat. I'm a writer, an actress, a producer, director, filmmaker, mostly independently, but I do contract with unions occasionally to get stuff done when I need to. And I just love being here. And I'm a super nerd, just like Raquel. I love all the science fiction worlds and universes. I grew up with them. I'm a futurist myself. So that's what I do. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram. You can find me on Medium and Vocal if you're interested in reading my work, my sci-fi stories. I do write sci-fi. I write sci-fi and horror crossover fiction. And, you can just follow along my fun journey, and I will follow you back, and we'll just join together.
Hit up her socials, guys. Support this awesome lady, and take it away.
Thank you. I am author Stephen Walton. Come check me out on my channel, author Stephen Walton. You can also find me on Twitter at Lodonis, Lodonis. We discuss pop culture, some social issues on my channel. We do that usually on TR4, which is the beginning of your Fandom Menace Tuesday nights at 6:30 with me, Sporkin' News Podcast, Lorena Creole, and Jane Theory. Please subscribe to all those channels. Jane Theory is doing a lot of Dune work. She's been a fan of Dune for a while, so please check out Jane Theory and follow Lorena Creole on Twitter. She is fastly becoming a hot asset amongst the live streaming community. And you can also find me on Saturdays on the Fourth Wave with Sporking News Podcast and various other guests. Final Death Star usually drops through. Come check us out there. And thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you very much. Look, I wouldn't be on here on YouTube having a channel doing what I do if it wasn't for my brothers and sisters in the chat who have been here commiserating with me for the last 2 years at the state of our entertainment and pop culture. So thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you. The show would not be here without you. And hail to the chat and hail to everybody on the panel. Please sub or follow all of these wonderful people. And thank you to Kat King for coming tonight.
Hey,
and also buy his book because he's so smart and so funny and so articulate. Please buy his book. He is just a fabulous human being. And Kat rocks the Casbah. Same for George and Bear.
I do want to say, Stephen, you are a hot asset, baby.
Yeah, you are.
I feel the same way about you, Drew.
Yeah, baby.
Beware the Drew.
I knew it. Knew it. Oh yeah. All right. Last but not least, we have Bear Nerd Fun. Go ahead, Bear. Take it away.
Yeah, you can catch me at Bear Nerd Fun. And I go live pretty much whenever I want. I do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Brother.
And you can catch the Four Horsemen pretty much any day of the week whenever it decides to show up.
All right.
And hell to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat. We really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And like Raquel said, without the chat, it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, this was a great stream tonight, guys. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Make sure that you guys come back next week. We will be doing season 2, episode 4, Resistance. That's going to be pretty fun. So we will see you then. So until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And so say we all.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.